George Orwell and Pink Floyd. Now, these are two unlikely crossovers, as one is a dystopian author from the 40s and the other is a psychedelic rock group from the 70s. Like I said, these are two completely different people with completely different backgrounds. But without ever interacting with one another, these two managed to tell the same story. Orwell died in 1950, but his literature lives on today. Now, my personal favorite book from him is 1984, and I recommend all of y'all read that. But a close contender would be his book, Animal Farm. Animal Farm is a novel about the Russian Revolution of 1917. It uses the themes of propaganda, corruption, social class, totalitarianism, and communism as major themes. It also uses animals as metaphors to create a political allegory against the Russians. It shows the danger of the working class being naive. It also directly critiques capitalism and socialism alike, showing the reader the direct example of why both are bad. Capitalism is shown through the work of the animals being exploited by the humans. And socialism is shown through the classes that emerge once the animals take rule. Eventually, the book ends, showing the dangerous similarities between capitalism and socialism, or pig and man. That brings us down the road at 1977, 34 years after the release of Animal Farm. A band named Pink Floyd released an album called Animals. Just by the album cover, which features a pig flying through factory smokestacks, you can feel like the theme of the album. Animals was directly inspired by Animal Farm, but instead of telling the story of the Russians, Pink Floyd critiqued the political environment of the 1970s. The album is quite short, with only 5 songs, though long and lengthy, as one song is over 17 minutes long. The tracks, in order, go as Pigs on the Wing, 1. Dogs. Pigs, 3 different ones. Sheep. And Pigs on the Wing, 2. Listening to the album in order, you will be told a story that is still quite relevant today. Since both Animals and Animal Farm directly compare humans to animals, it's easy to find comparisons between the two. Especially as the animals from Animals are referenced in Animal Farm. Now, I'm going to go through each animal listed as one of the main tracks on Animals and compare it to its roles in Animal Farm. The first song on Animals, Pigs on the Wing 1, just introduces you to the story. It doesn't really begin until you reach the second track, Dogs. Coming in at 17 minutes and 4 seconds long, Dogs tells a story about muscled enforcers who are predatory, directly referencing the police and military. Animal Farm is nearly identical, as the dogs there represent secret police and military force that governments use to intimidate society. The next track is Pigs, 3 different ones. The pigs in this song represents the elite, wealthy upper class that can manipulate society. According to Pink Floyd's bassist Roger Waters, the 3 pigs referenced in the song represent real people. They represent British politician Margaret Thatcher, morality campaigner Mary Whitehouse, and U.S. President Gerald Ford. Interesting enough, there are exactly 3 pigs in Animal Farm. That being Napoleon, Snowball, and Squealer, who represent Joseph Stalin, Leon Trotsky, and I can't pronounce this guy's name. I will put it right here. Vyacheslav Molotov? Maybe. Anyways, the next track on Animals is Sheep. Who are the blind followers that are oblivious to their low status and they're constantly being exploited? That's actually really similar to Animal Farm, where the sheep are often seen as inferior animals, and they are brainwashed by the pigs to constantly spread propaganda. Now, the album closes out with Pigs on the Wing 2, which kind of concludes the story that you were just told throughout the album. The entire story told in Pink Floyd's Animals is about the sheep rising up, killing the dogs, and leaving them greedy pigs defenseless and honestly worthless to them as the sheep go on to retire and live out the rest of their lives in peace. This tells the story of capitalism, where the sheep, the working class, rise up against the pigs, greedy politicians, and overthrow the forceful power of the dogs, the military. Now, Orwell's Animal Farm is actually quite similar. It tells the story of the animals, the working class, overthrowing the farmer, which is capitalism. Now, the pigs, which are the Russian leaders, take over. Capitalism is just overthrown. So now it's time for new leaders, the pigs, which are Russian leaders. The pigs spread propaganda, saying all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. That is a direct example of communism. Now the sheep, which are the blind followers, they're oblivious, and they help spread the propaganda. The other animals try to escape, but are kept in by the dogs. Military power. At the end, the pigs rule, despite claiming to be equal. That's socialism. The main ending shows that there is really no direct distinction between pig and man, as socialism is just as disgusting as capitalism. So, if you're interested in any stories describing political periods in history, I recommend George Orwell's Animal Farm and Pink Floyd's album Animals. One is one of my favorite authors. I would say George Orwell is my favorite author, actually. And the other is one of my all-time favorite bands, Pink Floyd. You can't go wrong with them. And you know, who knows? You might read the book or listen to the album and discover a story that I haven't realized yet. You might notice political themes of your own. So read the book and rock on. Peace out.